and from Street Outlaws looks like he's living the dream. Fast cars, TV fame, and millions of fans. But behind that famous smile is a story that will break your heart. At just 16, he lost his mother to cancer after a 2-year battle. That cost the family $180,000. 4 years later, his father collapsed at work and died 3 days later, and was left completely orphaned with $47,000 in medical bills and no way to pay them. What he did next to survive will shock you. This is the tragic truth they never showed on TV. Jeffrey Bonnet was born on August 3, 1981 in Oklahoma City. Everyone knows him today as a street racing personality with a quick wit and faster cars. But before the fame and the fast life, there was a kid with a strange mix of cultures, deep family values, and a painful past that shaped every turn of the wheel he took. His father, Dennis Bonnet, was a Vietnam War veteran who brought mechanical skill and strict discipline into their home. His mother, Motu, was a Taiwanese immigrant who worked as a seamstress and taught her children the value of hard work, kindness, and belief in dreams. Jeff grew up with his sister Brenda in a house where engines were always humming and car parts were scattered across the garage floor. Dennis didn't just teach him how to drive. He taught him how to tear down an engine, how to tune a carburetor, and how to feel the road even before the tires hit it. This wasn't just a hobby. In Oklahoma City, during the 80s and 90s, street racing was part of life. It had its own rules, its own heroes, and soon enough it would have a camera crew filming it for the world to see. Jeff's first big dream was to own a 1964 Chevy 2 Nova. The price was $2,800, a huge number for a teenager back then. His father agreed to loan him the money, but only if Jeff promised to pay it back every last dollar. And he did, but not with a glamorous job or family handouts. Jeff earned the money by painting house numbers on sidewalks and curbs for the fire department. He'd walk door to door, hauling paint cans, charging just a few dollars for each job. Took him months, hundreds of houses, but that Nova became his first real connection to a future built on speed. Then everything changed. In October 1997, Jeff lost his mother to breast cancer. She was just 42. He was only 16. She had been in treatment for 2 years, fighting through chemotherapy that drained the family of more than $180,000. Jeff spent many nights by her side in St. Mary's Hospital, watching her fade. In her final days, she asked him to keep chasing his dreams no matter how hard life got. Her death certificate was dated October 23rd. 4 years after, Jeff carried her hospital bracelet in his toolbox, believing it brought him luck every time he raced. 4 years later, tragedy struck again. In March 2001, his father, Dennis, collapsed at work while repairing a 1967 Camaro at Tinker Air Force Base. He had been ignoring chest pains for weeks. He had no insurance. By the time doctors realized his mitral valve had completely failed, it was too late. A surgery costing $35,000 might have saved him. Dennis passed away 3 days later. He was 48. His funeral cost $8,200, and Jeff and Brenda struggled to find a way to pay for it. Now completely orphaned, Jeff and his sister were left with $47,000 in medical bills and a monthly mortgage of $890. Brenda dropped out of college and started waiting tables at a local diner for $425 an hour, plus tips. Jeff worked 3 jobs: mornings at AutoZone for $7.50, afternoons at a tire shop for $80, weekends fixing cars out of their garage. They barely scraped by. Some months they lived on instant noodles and peanut butter. Twice their electricity was cut off in 2002. But through it all, Jeff kept cracking jokes and helping others with their car problems. That personality, the one everyone later saw on TV, was born out of pain. But it was real. He never stopped smiling, and somehow he never stopped helping. 6 weeks after his father's funeral, Jeff entered his first street race. It was on Highway 77 just outside the city. He drove the Monte Carlo his dad had been restoring. His opponent was a local kid in a Honda Civic. Jeff won by 3 car lengths. It wasn't just about speed. It was about letting go of grief for just a few seconds. That one race lit a fire in him. He started racing every Friday night. Sometimes the winnings were just $50, other times $200, but every dollar went toward keeping the lights on at home or upgrading the Monte Carlo. He added a new engine, better tires, and a photo of his dad hanging from the rear view mirror. Before every race, he'd tap it and whisper a promise to win. By 2004, Jeff had won more than 80 races. That car, his father's Monte Carlo, became the foundation of his career. He wasn't just racing to win anymore. He was racing to keep a promise, to carry his parents' memory forward, and to build something lasting out of everything they taught him. Long before Street Outlaws ever aired, Jeff Bonnet was quietly building his name in Oklahoma City's underground street racing scene. He was learning the ropes from older racers, getting his hands dirty and mastering the technical side of cars while also figuring out the street culture around him. At the time, places like Route 66 in Bethany were hot spots. Racers would gather at night to test their builds, push their limits, and compete for cash. And wasn't the flashiest, but he paid attention. He listened, and slowly the racers around him started to respect how much he knew, especially when it came to communication, setups, and car modifications that actually worked. Everything started to shift when he crossed paths with Shaw Whitley, the man everyone now knows as Farm Truck. They met cruising the streets of Bethany. Both were regulars on Route 66, but their personalities couldn't have been more different. Farm Truck had been racing since he was a kid, literally standing between roaring engines with a flashlight to start races. And on the